Hi, my name is Ehsan. Please set the bar kind of low after this rich presentation. Mine is kind of like very intuitive knowledge that you will take away from this presentation. My question is, how many have car? Who has car? Who has fuel efficient car? Okay, could you please say why did you buy that? Yeah, please. Okay, so what was the underlying reason? Like the cost benefit or? Okay, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for your help. Um, so this is exactly what we hear and see in the market about why we need to move to efficient industry, which is lower impact on our wallet and in the environment. So it's a quote that I took from the internet. But the reason that it's important is that you save money. So what did you do with that after that? Again, thank you for your help. Other things, exactly. Like, yeah, you can go travel or just buy new stuff, services. And we are doing that because we think that we can save both money and just help the environment. But again, as we see, it's not the case. Because after reducing the implicit price, at the end, we will see the demand goes up because everything consumes energy, right? Even if you say, I'm not doing anything, and it's sitting in the house, browsing internet, we know that last year, for example, in United States, just browsing internet consumed the electricity in Australia. So just doing nothing consume energy. I will try to say that you can contribute these factors to main three issues. First, increased efficiency makes the use of energy relatively cheaper, so it encourages use. Also, it helps the economy, and also it helps the companion technologies, products, services. So all just helps us to have bigger industry for efficiency. But this is not a new thing. 160 years ago, William Jevons observed something in England for coal industry, exactly the similar thing with the car that we see now. He saw that the entrepreneur at that time, James Watt, invented something which was very efficient in terms of the fuel consumption, and it increased the efficiency of the coal-fired steam engine, and it led to the idea in the people's mindset that the coal is a very cost-effective power source, and as a result, you have businessmen, people in the industry that say, okay, I can use this technology. And what he found was that it increased the total consumption of the coal, although it changed the amount of each section quite drastically. What he said was that it's a confusion of ideas to suppose that the economic use of fuel is equivalent to diminished consumption. The very contrary is the truth. And now we know this Jevons paradox, that the economical use of fuel result not in the diminished consumption, but in an overall increase. So say that's a paradoxical behavior. So this is not new, 160 years, at least, documented. Fast forward to 2015, we can see this is the same thing happening, not, for example, in the coal industry, but in cool industry. It's an air conditioning industry that, for example, in 8 years, the efficiency went up 28%. At the same time, the consumption of energy rose to 37%. So we can see It is still with us, this phenomena, paradoxical phenomena, that we want to minimize our footprint, but not going to work. And this is a very interesting slide that I really like it because it's very motivating. Because you can see how this old phenomena has new label, rebound effect, as you heard it, rebound paradox, or backfire, or Cousin Brooks, or Downs-Thompson, or Pigott, Knight, Downs, or Lewis, Muggeridge. And if you are interested, if you're having a postulate or paradox with your name, just raise your hand, we can just have something, because this is the similar phenomena. So it depends, just think about your field. You can find probably kind of similar phenomena, then you can have your name on that phenomena. So you can just collaboration, think about it. And all have the idea of this is paradoxical. So you can see that it's from economics, policy, energy policy, transportation, for example. You improve the road, but the traffic congestion not solved. You have more roads, but more cars. So, this is an example in my area, which is water. And there is a crisis. For example, you need food, water, and there is a demand for water, over exploitation of resources. And so this is a crisis. We need a policy proposal. What should we do? It's all about, again, boils down to the saving water. That was similar to saving money. And the proposal often is, okay, efficiency in irrigation, not in the car, in irrigation. And this is important because, for example, in Iran, like 92% of water consumption happens in agriculture sector. Or, for example, in Australia, $6 billion out of $10 billion for Murray-Darling Basin has to be spent on infrastructure, modernizing the irrigation system. And it's all about like that we have to save water. But the question is, does it work? I mean, is it effective or not? And does it lead to reduce groundwater extraction? This is not, again, a new question. There are quite a few examples all across the world that show that, okay, if this is the question, and we need a policy proposal, which is irrigation, changing the irrigation, modernizing. For example, taking this example, conversion from traditional irrigation system to higher efficiency one. The result, so this is an example from the US. Government subsidizes this modernization, and the efficiency improvement happens, and higher revenue for the agricultural sector, lower costs. And here you have shift to water-intensive crop mix and more frequent extensive use of irrigation. You can see, again, similar phenomena. And what happens is that it feedbacks to irrigation water demand. It increases, and again, similar. The whole point is that we have to save water, and this saving water often is seen in the eyes of the people as a new resource. So I save money, I have to spend it, like flight, like the car and the flight. And this new resource, I'll just give you another example from Iran. You have seen another one from Iran, Fatima gave it, which is very interesting that you can see if you increase supply, increase resource, doesn't mean that consumption, you can control it. Because if you look at the red line, it increases as the consumption, which is the blue line. Again, I'm just showing you with some delay. The red is water supply, blue is consumption. And these kind of solution often goes in a way that they increasingly, it's like a reinforcing loop. that they addict people who are using it to themselves. But the problem is the water deficit in the basin goes up. So you are not addressing the main problem. It just reminds us, those who are working in the system thinking and system dynamics, very typical archetypes that in the system thinking. This is a very famous one, shifting the burden. You have like two loops, for example. This one, you think that this is a fundamental solution, that you know what it is, for example. And there is a like symptomatic solution, which is often attributed with the efficiency. And if you focus on this one, there's a side effect. It's a long-term with delay side effect. We all know it. It's not a new thing to you. But the main feature of this archetype is that the underlying problem of this kind, it generates symptoms that demand attention, difficult for people to address. It's obscure, kind of, and costly to confront. And the solution, often well-intentioned. You're doing it with very good well-intention. You want to solve the problem. And often comes with extremely efficient narrative. So it's very efficient. And they leave the underlying problem unchanged. And as we know, and it's very obvious for many cases, it's not unsustainable. I modeled the case, for example, in that case in Iran, and because the policymakers wanted to add 2 more resources. So if you are a system thinker, you already know the answer. That may actually affect your result, which is problematic. I put that aside. But I modeled it, and these 2, the question was, if I just adding these 2 to the model, what happens for the future? And for example, I'm just giving you this indicator. This is about resource stress index. And if it goes up after 1, you will have problem, water crisis, in terms of the overexploitation of the resources. And for example, even they bring more water, new resources, and increase the efficiency doesn't change the problem. And as models showed, for example, doing nothing, business as usual, is sometimes better. And I just skip this one, getting to the final one. So that was very paradoxical to me. Because I thought that, okay, we already know this phenomenon for at least 160 years. But we are increasingly addicted to it. And why is that? No one's talking about it, or not in a very open discussion. So I found very appealing features to this phenomena, this paradox, that we are still see it as a paradox. We just want to be surprised by saying that, okay, this is paradoxical. I didn't expect that. So one of the features is that improving efficiency, it is easy to endorse. Consumers, think about the irrigators, are unlikely to resist against technology upgrade. Think about the Australian case. The efficiency discussions at the policy tables are often never contentious. No one is debating about who is responsible, and there is no finger pointing or blame game. And advocating efficiency involves virtually no political risk, as well as, I really like this one, it expands government's influence over the resource. You can think of many examples in your mind. Why? So these are the features that appeal to the many policymakers. Why efficiency is important. Why we are addicted to this phenomenon. My proposal is that we have to think about politicizing the paradox, or if it was politicized, repoliticizing the paradox. But think about the political dimension of this phenomenon, and think about who gets what and when if we save water or if we save money. And this is very important to address. This is another discussion if we want to delve into. But not only this part, but from the paradox to principle, to think about how it can be entrenched in our policy making. And do not just take by surprise that, okay, something again happened, that we have to call it paradoxical behavior. We didn't expect that. Thank you.
More of a comment than a question. I really like this. I study the nature of paradoxes in a mathematical setting and in economic settings, so I can't really like it. I guess my comment is that what you're getting at the end really touches on an issue that is not commonly understood about paradoxes very well. Is that they don't free float; they exist in context. And what you're really getting at, I think, at the end, if you'd like to comment on this, is the solution. You don't solve them, but you resolve them, and the resolution lies in understanding how the paradox fits in context, potentially looking at the cascade sometimes of different contexts within which that paradox operates. So
I do agree with that. I believe that everything just co-constructed one another. I'm not saying that paradox exists somewhere and we are living our life in isolation. I do agree with you.
But sometimes we just forget that.
No, I do agree with you. I do agree with you.
I just suggest that it's not just the policymakers, but it's also the general public that elects them, because oftentimes it's the constituency groups that are saber rattling or doing something.
Yes, exactly.
And we need a better educated electorate to rattle their swords about the real solutions.
More questions?